Ready for a deep dive, one that takes us underground into a world that's, well, right beneath our feet.
Literally a hidden world.
Exactly. We're talking about fungi, of course, but not just those eye-catching mushrooms we see popping up.
Those are just the tip of the iceberg.
We're going deeper, exploring the fascinating world of mycelium, that intricate network of fungal threads connecting life in ways we're just beginning to grasp.
You know, it's fascinating how fungi challenge our very notion of individuality.
Oh, tell me about it.
We tend to think of organisms as distinct, separate entities.
Right.
But fungi, they just blur those boundaries. They form these interconnected webs that link entire ecosystems.
Like they're revealing a hidden language of nature.
Exactly.
A way of communicating that's totally different from anything we're used to. And to guide our exploration, we've got excerpts from a book that blew my mind.
Ooh, which one?
Entangled Life by Milan Sheldrake. It's packed with mind-boggling insights into fungal communication.
Sheldrake's work is brilliant. He delves into some incredible scientific research that's really transforming our understanding of these organisms.
Because for centuries, we've mainly viewed fungi as decomposers, right?
Right, just breaking things down.
But it turns out there's so much more than that.
Oh, absolutely. They're master communicators, shaping the forward ecosystem in ways we're only just beginning to grasp.
And one of the most intriguing concepts from the book is this idea of mycelium as a kind of wood wide web.
The wood wide web, I love that analogy.
Right. It really captures the essence of this vast underground network of fungal threads that connect trees and plants.
And it allows them to share resources, even send signals to each other.
Like a hidden communication system.
Exactly. A network that allows trees to support each other, share nutrients, and even warn each other of danger.
So it's not just about decomposition then. It's about connection and cooperation on a scale we never imagined. It reminds me of Suzanne Simard's research, the forest ecologist who used radioactive carbon dioxide to trace how carbon moved between trees.
Oh, groundbreaking work.
She found that Douglas fir and birch trees were actually sharing resources through these fungal connections.
Amazing, isn't it? Her research really challenged the prevailing view that trees were just competing for resources.
Yeah, it showed they were actively cooperating.
Using the fungal network to create a more resilient and interconnected ecosystem.
Which is exactly what led David Reed to coin the term wood wide web.
It's such a fitting term.
It really captures that sense of a hidden intelligence at work in the forest. It makes you wonder, just how sophisticated is this communication? Are fungi just facilitating exchange? Or is there something more going on?
That's where things get really interesting. If we're talking communication, we have to consider the language.
Right.
And fungi, well, they have their own complex chemical languages.
Fascinating.
They use a variety of compounds to signal each other, attract insects, even manipulate the behavior of other organisms.
Like with truffles, they release those incredible aromas that attract animals to eat them and spread their spores.
Exactly. Truffles have mastered the art of fungal manipulation through their powerful scent.
It's amazing.
But it's not just about attracting animals. Fungi use chemical signals to communicate with each other, forming these complex relationships that scientists are still trying to decipher.
So it's like there's an intelligence at work, a way of processing information and responding to the environment that's totally different from our own.
It really makes you question our definition of intelligence, doesn't it?
It really does. It makes you wonder, are fungi actually intelligent?
It's a question that's been debated for decades. Sheldrake explores it in fascinating detail in his book. He highlights the work of Stefan Olsson, a Swedish mycologist.
Okay.
He used microelectrodes, originally designed for studying moth brains,
Wow.
to measure electrical impulses traveling through mycelial networks.
Hold on. So they found electrical activity in mycelium, similar to how information travels in our nervous system.
That's right.
That's wild.
It really challenges our very definition of intelligence, doesn't it?
It does.
We tend to think of intelligence in human-centric terms: language, logic, problem solving.
Right?
But what if intelligence can manifest in completely different ways?
It makes you wonder.
What if the network itself, the mycelium, is a form of intelligence?
Yeah.
A decentralized system of information processing and adaptation?
So are you saying that the forest floor is basically a giant brain?
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but it does suggest that we need to broaden our understanding of what intelligence can be.
For sure.
Fungi are forcing us to reconsider our assumptions and explore new possibilities.
It's a reminder that we're part of a much larger web of life, a web that's interconnected in ways we're only beginning to comprehend.
Absolutely.
And maybe, just maybe, fungi are trying to teach us something about connection, about communication, about the very nature of consciousness itself.
It's certainly a thought-provoking idea, and it leads us to another fascinating aspect of the fungal world.
Which is?
Psilocybin.
Psilocybin. the psychoactive compound found in certain mushrooms that's known for its mind-altering effect.
Exactly.
Is this where the stoned ape hypothesis comes in?
Precisely. Terence McKenna, an ethnobotanist, proposed this controversial theory, suggesting that psilocybin consumption played a role in human evolution, potentially contributing to the development of language and consciousness.
That's a pretty bold claim. I imagine it sparked quite a bit of debate in the scientific community.
It certainly has. While the evolutionary history of psilocybin remains a mystery, it's clear that these compounds have profound effects on human consciousness.
That they do.
And perhaps they offer a unique window into the interconnectedness of life that fungi so elegantly embody.
So while we're exploring the hidden language of mycelium and the possibility that fungi are trying to teach us something, we also have to consider the role of psychedelics in shaping our understanding of the natural world, and perhaps even ourselves.
Absolutely. It's a journey that takes us beyond the realm of science and into the realm of consciousness, where the boundaries between observer and observed begin to blur, and we start to question the very nature of reality itself.
That sounds pretty intense. But before we venture too far down the rabbit hole, maybe we should take a step back and look at some of the practical ways fungi are being used to solve real-world problems.
You're referring to mycormediation, I presume?
Exactly. The idea of using fungi to clean up environmental contamination, it's like a natural solution to some of our biggest challenges.
It is quite remarkable. For example, researchers are exploring the use of Pilotis mycelium, the same type that gives us those delicious oyster mushrooms, to break down used diapers.
Wait, mushrooms can eat diapers. Now that's something I didn't expect to learn today.
It's true, and it doesn't stop there. Fungi are being investigated for their potential to remediate toxic waste from crude oil extraction, clean up polluted waterways, even break down plastics.
This is connecting to the idea of a radical mycology movement, right?
Exact.
Where mycologists are at the forefront of finding innovative and sustainable solutions, using the power of fungi.
They're exploring the incredible diversity of the fungal kingdom, uncovering a wealth of possibilities for addressing environmental challenges.
It seems like fungi are not just communicators, they're also problem solvers, and potentially the key to a more sustainable future.
It's a reminder that nature often holds the solutions to our problems if we're willing to listen and learn. And fungi, with their resilience, adaptability, and intricate connections, offer a wealth of wisdom waiting to be uncovered.
This deep dive is already shaping up to be quite a journey. We've covered a lot of ground, from the wood wide web to psilocybin to the fascinating world of mycormediation. But I have a feeling we're just scratching the surface of what fungi have to teach us.
You're absolutely right. There's so much more to explore. Welcome back to our deep dive. I hope you're ready for more.
I'm definitely seeing the world a little differently now. It's amazing how something as simple as a mushroom can lead to such profound questions about life, intelligence, even the nature of reality.
Right.
But before we get too philosophical, I'm curious to learn more about those practical applications of fungi, like mycormediation.
Oh, yes.
Sheldrake gives some fascinating examples
It does.
of how fungi are being used in everything from sustainable packaging
To building materials.
seriously.
It's amazing.
It's this radical mycology in action,
It
right?
really is.
People like Paul Stamets are really pushing the boundaries
Oh, he's a visionary.
of what we thought was possible with fungi.
Completely.
Imagine growing a chair instead of building it.
I know.
That's what they're doing with mycelium.
It's incredible.
So instead of manufacturing packaging from plastic, they're literally growing it from mushrooms.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's incredible. What are some of the advantages of using mycelium in this way?
Well, for one, it's incredibly sustainable. You can grow mycelium on agricultural waste,
Oh, interesting.
like corn husks or sawdust.
So it's utilizing materials that would otherwise be discarded.
Exactly.
And then at the end of its life cycle, the mycelium-based product is completely biodegradable.
Right.
So it doesn't end up in a landfill.
It just breaks down naturally.
Sounds like a win-win-win. Good for the environment, good for consumers, and I imagine pretty good for the fungi as well.
Well, they certainly seem to thrive on it.
It makes you wonder what other potential applications are out there, just waiting to be discovered.
The possibilities are pretty much endless. Researchers are exploring the use of fungi in bioremediation, medicine,
Really?
even as a source of sustainable food.
Wow.
For example, some fungi can actually break down pollutants in soil and water,
That's amazing.
and others produce compounds with antibacterial and antiviral properties.
It's incredible how versatile they are. Speaking of fungi benefiting humans, we can't overlook the role they play in one of our most beloved activities,
Which is,
fermentation.
oh, of course,
Sheldrake talks about those ancient brews. And it's fascinating to think that those old brewing recipes are essentially records of how yeasts have.
etched themselves into human history.
Exactly.
I love that.
They've shaped our culinary traditions, social practices, even our understanding of the world.
It's true.
It's a reminder that we're not just passive observers of the natural world. We're active participants, constantly shaping and being shaped by the organisms around us.
Absolutely.
And our relationship with fungi in all its diverse forms is a testament to the power of symbiosis.
And to the interconnectedness of life. You know, it's funny, we've been talking about how fungi challenge our human-centric view of the world.
Right.
But even the way we talk about symbiosis can be unintentionally revealing.
What do you mean?
Well, take the common view of symbiosis as a spectrum. With parasitism at one end and mutualism at the other,
Okay.
it implies a kind of judgment, doesn't it?
I see what you mean.
Like mutualism is the good outcome, while parasitism is bad.
It's like we're projecting our own moral framework onto these complex relationships,
Exactly.
when in reality, nature doesn't operate in those terms.
Not at all. Take microheterotrophic plants, for instance.
Like a what?
Microheterotrophic plants.
Okay.
They've basically evolved to hack the mycorrhizal networks,
Interesting.
drawing nutrients from other plants through their fungal partners.
So they're getting a free ride.
They are. They're like the ultimate freeloaders of the forest,
Wow.
tapping into the fungal network to steal resources.
So these mycoheterotrophic plants are completely dependent on the fungal network for their survival.
They are.
That's a pretty clever strategy if you can get away with it.
It is, and it shows how adaptable these relationships can be,
Yeah.
and how organisms can find unique ways to thrive within these interconnected systems.
Right?
Now, some might call that parasitic, but it's just another fascinating adaptation.
It all comes back to this idea that fungi are constantly challenging our categories, forcing us to reevaluate our understanding of the natural world
Absolutely.
and our understanding of ourselves.
Right. Remember that point Sheldrake made about organ transplants blurring the lines of individuality?
Yeah.
Or how the microbial sciences are showing that we are ecosystems unto ourselves?
It's like our human definition of the individual is constantly being challenged
Constantly.
by the interconnectedness of life.
Especially when we look closely at fungi.
It's true.
I think that's a crucial takeaway. Fungi, through their symbiosis, their networks, their very existence, are revealing something fundamental about the nature of life.
What's that?
It's not about isolated individuals competing for resources. It's about connection, collaboration, the intricate dance of interdependence.
It's a beautiful and humbling perspective. It makes you wonder, what else can we learn from these ancient organisms?
Well, one thing that stands out to me is their resilience. Fungi have thrived for millions of years.
I know, it's amazing.
Navigating countless environmental shifts and challenges.
They're survivors.
They're masters of adaptation and resourcefulness.
That's for sure.
Perhaps by studying their strategies, we can glean insights into how to create a more sustainable future for ourselves.
Interesting.
Think about the way mycorrhizal networks allow trees to share resources.
Right.
It's a system that prioritizes resilience, connection, the well-being of the whole forest.
It's almost like they're offering us a blueprint for a more interconnected, harmonious way of being.
It's a beautiful thought.
Instead of constantly competing and exploiting, we can learn to cooperate and support each other, just like the trees in a forest.
Exactly.
But are fungi actually trying to teach us something? Or are we just projecting our own desires and interpretations onto them?
Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say they're intentionally trying to impart wisdom, but observing these fungal interactions can certainly offer us valuable insights.
That's true.
If we approach the natural world with a sense of humility and curiosity, we can learn a great deal from the organisms that have been thriving on this planet for far longer than we have.
I think that's a great point. We tend to view ourselves as the pinnacle of evolution, but in reality, we have a lot to learn from the other organisms that share this planet with us,
We do.
especially those that have mastered the art of connection and resilience.
Like fungi.
Exactly. This leads us back to the question of fungal intelligence. If these organisms are capable of creating such complex, resilient systems, can we truly say they're not intelligent?
It's a tough question. I think the more we learn about fungi, the more we realize that intelligence can take many forms. We tend to privilege those aspects of intelligence that are most familiar to us: language, logic, abstract reasoning.
Yeah,
But what if intelligence manifests in completely different ways in other organisms?
I like that.
What if the fungal network itself is a form of intelligence?
Okay.
A decentralized system of information processing and problem solving that operates on a time scale and in a way that we can barely comprehend.
So instead of asking, are fungi intelligent? Maybe the better question is, what can we learn from their unique form of intelligence?
Exactly, and it's an invitation to approach the natural world with a sense of wonder and open-mindedness.
Right.
Recognizing that there are forms of intelligence and ways of being that are far beyond our human experience.
I love that.
And perhaps by studying these other forms of intelligence, we can expand our own understanding of what it means to be alive and connected in this vast web of life.
It's like we're only just beginning to understand the true depth and complexity of the fungal kingdom.
We're just scratching the surface.
Welcome back. We're wrapping up our fungal journey today, but there's one more thing we need to unpack from Entangled Life.
Oh, you must be talking about Sheldrake's personal experiences.
Exactly. His psilocybin journeys, it adds a whole other dimension to the book.
I agree. It's not every day you see a scientist weaving personal psychedelic experiences into their work.
Right. And he does it so thoughtfully, connecting it back to his scientific understanding. It's not just a subjective account.
No, not at all. He's trying to make sense of it all through the lens of biology and ecology, even physics. Like, there's that part where he's in a clinical drug testing unit.
Oh, yeah.
Tripping on LSD.
Trying to answer questions about his experience of amazement and infinity. I laughed out loud reading that part.
It's such a great example of the limitations of language when we try to describe these kinds of experiences.
It really is. They're so profound, ineffable,
Exactly.
It makes you wonder, are these psychedelic experiences just a chemical interaction in our brains?
Right.
Or are they something more? A glimpse into a deeper awareness, a connection to nature that's usually hidden from us?
It's a question that's been around for centuries.
I know, it's fascinating.
And we don't have all the answers, but the research into psychedelics is really exciting.
It feels like there's a resurgence happening.
There is. Scientists are exploring the therapeutic benefits for things like depression and anxiety.
Even addiction.
Exactly.
And they're trying to understand how these compounds affect our brains, our consciousness.
It's really groundbreaking work.
It's exciting to think we might be on the verge of a new understanding of the human mind and its relationship to nature, thanks, in part, to these fungal allies.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It speaks to the power of fungi to expand our consciousness.
It does.
To challenge our assumptions, to open us up to new ways of seeing the world and ourselves.
I agree. So, as we wrap up this deep dive, I keep coming back to this question. What is it about fungi that's so captivating? Why do they make us question everything?
It's a good question. I think it's because they embody so much of what we find both fascinating and challenging about life itself. They defy categorization.
They do.
They blur the lines between individuals and ecosystems.
And the living and the dead.
Right.
It's like they're ancient, but also cutting edge at the same time.
Absolutely. And maybe most importantly, they remind us that we're not separate from nature.
That we're interconnected.
Deeply intertwined.
It's like they're holding up a mirror to our own assumptions and limitations.
You got it, showing us that there's so much more to the world than we can even perceive with our limited senses.
And with our preconceived notions.
Exactly. They invite us to approach the world with humility.
With curiosity.
And with a sense of wonder.
To recognize that there are mysteries and possibilities beyond our current comprehension.
I think that's a perfect note to end on.
Well, to all our listeners, I encourage you to keep exploring this fascinating world of fungi. Read Entangled Life if you haven't already.
Yes.
Go for a walk in the woods.
Take a closer look.
And remember, there's a hidden world right beneath our feet, teeming with life, intelligence, and endless possibilities.
You might just stumble upon some fungal wisdom that changes your perspective forever.
You never know. Well, thanks for joining us on this journey into the fungal realm. We'll see you next time.